Now, two of Ireland's biggest exports embroiled in a furious row this morning over airport charges.
After ex-Westlife singer Brian McFadden accused Ryanair of stealing from its own people, the airlines hit back. For going 4 kilos over his luggage allowance and not having his boarding pass printed out, Brian McFadden was charged £150 by Ryanair, prompting a furious Twitter rant at their chief exec. Ryanair responded by saying that they were surprised Mr McFadden, having agreed to print his boarding card, couldn't manage this super complex task, which is accomplished daily by over 80 million passengers annually. How much do extra charges upset people?
You think you found a really cheap flight, and then you kind of go a few stations later, and it just ends up stinging you. It is just about cheaper, but not as cheap as you thought it would be.
There is too much small print. I don't go on them if I can avoid it.
Among Ryanair's charges which are not included in the advertised ticket price are checked-in luggage, priority boarding, a child's car seat, which will cost you £10 each way, and credit card payments, which cost an extra 2%. They may be a low-cost airline. If you don't follow the rules, they can be very costly.
Well, Brian took a different flight with a different airline, but he made it to Spain and he joins us from there this morning. Brian, thanks for joining us. How shocked were you by the fact that they told you you would have to pay an extra £150?
Well, if you had to see my face, the first part was the boarding pass. I would have to say first, Lorraine, I do understand that there are rules and there's terms and conditions, but first of all, I actually didn't even book my flight. I was booked through a travel agent because I was on tour. So this is one of maybe 6 flights I'd taken over the space of 2 weeks. So when I arrived at Liverpool Airport, I didn't have my boarding pass. And I actually did know, I kind of had a feeling, I'd heard this before, that if you don't print your own boarding pass, you will be charged. But when the lady pointed at basically what's like an ATM machine for printing boarding passes, which has a credit card machine on it, and told me it was going to cost £70, I was shocked, obviously shocked. But I kind of knew at the same time I don't really have a choice. This is the last flight out of Liverpool to get me back to Dublin. I either get this or I don't. I'd also checked in one luggage bag and a golf bag. The luggage was fine, that went through. So then I put on my golf bag, and she tells me that my golf bag is 4 kilos over, which is going to cost me another £80. Now, the two things there. First of all, the boarding pass, I think, yes, if somebody, you know, I know if you have to print on a boarding pass, you have to do it. And if you don't do it, there should be a penalty. But £70, I just cannot see how you can justify penalising somebody £70 sterling.
And obviously, you know,
for not printing off a boarding pass.
Exactly. You can pay it, of course. You were able to change flights because I guess you got so annoyed that you didn't want to pay it, so you were able to do that. But not everybody, not everybody can do it. Yeah, I can imagine.
That's it. Not everybody can do that. I was lucky enough that I could do it. But the other thing was my golf bag, which I didn't understand. It was I paid specifically extra money so I could check in a golf bag. So a golf bag's a golf bag. I don't understand how they can tell you that a golf bag is overweight. You know, you paid for a golf bag. It's a bag that holds golf clubs. I don't understand that they want me to take out my putter and take out my driver, and you know, what am I supposed to do? It's a golf bag's a golf bag. So you either pay for a golf bag or you don't. And I just think, you know, it's like they're trapping people. You know, and I've seen other people. I've had since my Twitter rant, I've had so many responses of other stories that are 10 times worse than mine. And people who just got, you know, like I know of one man who didn't have £70 to pay for his boarding pass, and he couldn't get in his flight, and he was stuck.
Well, Brian, stay with us. Gillian Edwards is also with us from ABTA, which represents travel companies. 70 quid to print a boarding card. That's pretty steep, isn't it?
It does seem quite disproportionate, especially when you think about how much these no-frills carriers. The headline price is obviously often very cheap, what they advertise. And then if you add on a cost like that, it's just a huge addition, and it doesn't seem very fair. But I think most people who do travel on the no-frills are aware that they do have to be very careful. You have to play by the rules, or you might get stung.
And if you do have a bad flight, who do you complain to?
Well, if you book directly with the airline, then
such as that, yeah.
you would have to. Ryanair's not a member of any kind of trade association like ABTA, so you would have to take up your complaint directly with them.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Brian. If you had Michael O'Leary, you know, who is the chief executive of Ryanair, if you could maybe, you know, if he was here, anything you'd like to say to him?
Well, look, you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot you could say about Ryanair, but you know, Ryanair, they still have done some great things. You know, they still, for Irish people, they've made travelling to places like Spain and a lot of, you know, places in Europe reachable for a budget. So you know, in one side I appreciate what Ryanair have done, but it's getting to a stage now where they're taking advantage that everybody, you know, everybody thinks Ryanair first from Ireland, especially when we think of travelling to Europe and, you know, and travelling at a good cost. But now they're taking advantage of that, and, you know, it's these silly costs that are you know, destroying people. It is actually, when you work out how much it would cost to have your bag and boarding passes, and as you said, like even things like a child's car seat, and things that families might have to take on holidays, you are probably better off going for a more reliable airline like British Airways or Aer Lingus.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
Okay, oh, and Brian, I hope your journey back is uneventful, because obviously you are back here, because on Monday you're going to be Richard Arnold for a week. You're going to be taking over that.
I am. How pleasant will that be? I might have to shave my beard if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, shave your beard and also print your boarding card now, if it's a good boy.
Exactly.
It's interesting because the majority of you don't agree. 64% of you think that they're still value for money. Airlines, 36 of you not.
You know what, if you're aware, I think what's really good about what's happened today and what Brian is saying, is if you're aware of it, at least if you know. But I also think it's very difficult if you're on holiday. How do you print your boarding pass when you're on holiday? You've usually got access to it at home.
And Julian, the bottom line is read the small print.
Yeah.
Read the small bit and just be aware of all the different things, so checking in your baggage in advance, etc. Just making sure you're aware of their policies and playing by their rules.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
There's a really